Our legal guys are back. In just a moment, we're going to turn to the celebrity cases. Civil rights attorney Avery Friedman and criminal defense attorney Richard Herman. But before we turn back to celebrities, Richard, you made a really interesting point during the break here about the Casey Anthony case and this notion about whether the things that she said when the police were around her will be admitted in court. Why would they not be?
Right, Tom, that's what was argued. When they came to her house, what the police did was handcuff her and put her in the back of a caged patrol car. It was at that time, she was not under arrest, but she was clearly in a custodial situation. They did not give her Miranda warnings. They should have, and it was during that time that she disclosed about Zanny the nanny, and there was a nanny involved. They argued to the judge that that must be suppressed because it came in a custodial situation where she felt she was under arrest, and they did not give her Miranda warnings. Tom,
and that's what Mom and Dad said. That's what Mom and Dad said this week. That's exactly right.
So that could be a huge turning point in that case.
Terrible blow to the prosecution.
Yeah, all right. Well, it is an important point. I'm glad you brought that up, Richard and Avery chiming in on that. Let's look at the celebrity situation right now. Oh, my gosh, Charlie Sheen in a fight over his kids. Singer Christina Aguilera taken into custody on suspicion of relation with drunk driving, something like this. And a fashion designer is sacked for alleged anti-Semitic comments. Avery, let me turn to this bit about Charlie Sheen. I just roll my eyes over this. This is just out of control right now. Tell me about this business with his kids right now.
Well, this is real easy, Tom. I mean, there was an order where he had to relinquish the twins after the weekend, and then he decides he's not going to do it. And he decides that based on we saw his interview with Piers Morgan and others. He's just going to do what he wants to do. So now he violates a court order. On top of that, the ex-wife asserts that he threatened to cut her head off. And on top of that, there's
he denies. Now he strongly denies that. He says, I didn't do that, right?
Yeah, of course he denies it. And then, of course, he promises in a settlement agreement in the divorce that he's not going to say anything disparaging about the ex, which, of course, he does. So he is piling up legal issue after legal issue. I don't know who's representing him that has control to basically tell the client, Tom, keep quiet. Richard, and he's doing the opposite.
Richard, let me ask you about that. If you're an attorney and you have a client tangled up in something like this where there just seems to be no end to it, what on earth do you say to them?
Yeah.
I'm quitting. Get another lawyer. That's easy.
Good.
Except that he has too much money, so the lawyer's getting paid a ton of dough on this case. Look, Tom, this man, it's like a car accident when you're driving. Everybody turns to look and watch. Everybody can't keep their eyes off him. It's just every day it's something new. It's incredible. He is not winning. Carlos Estevez is not winning, Tom. Drunk, drugs, violence, losing his contract at the studio. He is not winning, and now he lost his kids. He threatened to cut his wife's head off and send it to her mother in a box. He's violating restraining orders. He's not acting in the best interest of the kids. And Carlos,
that's right,
man to man, they are not goddesses, okay? Please, come on, buddy. They're not goddesses.
Yeah. Avery, let me ask you one thing very quickly here. Is there ever a time at times like this, I mean, I don't know how you guys do this business, is there ever a time at times like this when lawyers talk to each other behind the back and say, we got to get these clients of ours off the headlines because this is a mess?
I got to tell you, those conversations happen every day, Tom. Any good lawyer who sees the client is out of control gives the client a choice. Either you're going to continue to do what you're doing or you're going to pay attention, I'll stick with you. Richard's right. I don't know what these lawyers are doing. I think they're just used to getting big bucks. That's
all right. Let's turn, Richard, let's turn to Christina Aguilera. Taken in for public intoxication. She was a passenger in a car her boyfriend was driving, now charged with a misdemeanor. Is this a standard thing? She's just riding along in the car.
You know, Tom, they pulled him over and they gave him a breathalyzer at .09. Now, .08 is the cutoff, so he's barely intoxicated. He's probably going to fight that case. But she's a passenger in the car, and she's wrecked. She can't hardly even stand up. She can't talk. She's plastered. Right. So the police, under those circumstances, just took her in and let her sleep it off. Then they let her go in the morning.
Yeah.
She was not charged. She's not going to be charged, but obviously she's a very troubled person these days. Someone's got to help her. She's screaming for help.
Let me ask something about that, Avery. This is an interesting question here. If you're in a car and you are drunk out of your mind, but you are a passenger, aren't you effectively in a private place saying, I'm a private citizen doing what I want? It's nobody else's business?
Good. That's exactly the point. There is no crime being a drunk passenger. And the fact is, the police did the right thing. They threw her in the tank. She was there till about 2 to 7 in the morning, let her free. There's some news reports that she posted bond. That seems unclear. If so, it's a minor misdemeanor, but it is true. She needs help. There are problems going on. She's coming off a very bad divorce, and it is a sign that it's time to get help, because right now, if she doesn't, the legal issues are going to start piling up.
All right, now we're going to go overseas to the story of John Galliano, the flamboyant designer.
Yeah.
You know, big guy over there, big name in fashion, accused of making anti-Semitic and racist insults to a couple in a Paris bar. He denies the accusations. Nonetheless, Christian Dior sacks him. He's out on the street on this whole thing. What do you make of this whole thing, Richard?
Well, you know, we've been talking about protected speech the last few weeks, Tom. I know you've been watching us. And clearly, over in Paris there, racial insults are not protected speech. He's being prosecuted for them. He's facing 6 months in prison and fines upwards of $30,000 for this. And a lot of it's caught on video. This guy's a complete dirtbag loser, and it's about time someone flushed him down the toilet. Terrible.
Well, gee.
Avery, they do have different. Avery, they do have different standards. And
let me
laws
see. Can I elevate this a little bit? Look. That's Western Europe and all the history that goes with that. It's France. It's not America. We saw this week the Supreme Court upheld essentially putrid, sickening speech, but it is protected. That's the Western European approach to criminal justice. Whether
the case you're talking about
is not the issue.
You're talking about the Westboro Baptist case, right? The protest outside of military things.
Exactly right.
Richard, do you think that if the same thing had happened in this country, that there would have been any kind of charges come out? Because we've talked a lot more in this country about things like hate speech and fomenting violence. Do you think there'd be anything?
No, look, like you said, if these families can visit this Westboro Baptist church and look at those signs and listen to them rant and rave, and you can't get justice that way, you can't sue them for any kind of defamation or any type of intentional infliction of emotional stress. No, Tom, this guy would not be charged or prosecuted, or you probably couldn't even sue him in the United States for that.
It's always good to talk to you, civil rights attorney Avery Friedman and criminal defense attorney Richard Herman. Nice to have you here this weekend.